Hi, Algebra 2. Today we are going to review all three forms of our quadratics, and we're going to go back and forth between the three forms. So remember, we have standard form, we have factored form, and we have vertex form. So I'm going to give you one of the three forms, and then you are going to tell me what the other two forms are. So if I give you standard, you're going to tell me factored and vertex form. And then also you're going to tell me what the y-intercept, the x-intercepts are, as well as the vertex. And this is in preparation for our upcoming tests. But again, this is not the true review. We're just going to practice going back and forth. So for the first one we have is f of x equals x squared plus 12x plus 32. So this form is the standard form. And maybe I should specify, you need to be taking your own notes today, adding to your notebook. So again, this is our standard form. What do we end up with in standard form? Hopefully you remember the y-intercept. And the y-intercept, remember, is your constant here. So my y-intercept is going to be at 0, 32. So that is standard form. Okay, so next up, let's do factored form. So to do factored form, we're going to factor this quadratic. Remember, we're looking for what two numbers multiply to give me 32 and add to give me 12. So I'll just write here a little bit while you're thinking. So again, what multiplies to give me 32 and adds to give me 12? Hopefully you're thinking 8 and 3. So this would be x plus 8, x plus 3, or if you want to do x plus 3 first and x plus 8 second, that's fine. So again, this is the factored form. Factored form. Okay. And again, what do you get from factored form? Hopefully you're going to say, hey, it's the x-intercepts. So to find the x-intercepts, we're going to set each factor equal to 0. So in the first case, if we have x plus 8 equals 0, in the second case we have x plus 3 equals 0. And if I solve the first one by subtracting 8 from both sides, x would be negative 8. And the second case, if I subtract 3 from both sides, x would be negative 3. So your two x-intercepts are going to be at negative 8, 0, and then at negative 3, 0. So at this point, we've got two forms down, factored and standard. We've got the y-intercept, we've got the x-intercepts, we need the vertex. So to do vertex form, we're going to have to complete the square. So if you remember how we did this was the last lesson we did. We're going to group together the x squared and the 12x, and then we're going to put the plus 32 on the end here. So to get this missing term here, we're going to take our middle coefficient, which is 12 divided by 2, and then square it. 12 divided by 2 is 6, and 6 squared is 36. So if I'm going to add 36 to keep it balanced, I also have to subtract 36. So this is going to factor, or to complete the square, factor, into x plus 6 quantity squared, and then 32 minus 36 is negative 4. So again, this is vertex form. And what do you get from vertex form? The vertex. And the vertex is going to be located at negative 6, comma, negative 4. Again, that's where you get that from. Okay. Oh, and hold on a second. I wrote 3 and I meant 4. Let me pause for a second here. This was supposed to be 8 times 4 to give me 32. So x plus 4 equals 0. That's going to be a negative 4, and it would be negative 8, negative 4. I apologize for that. I think I said 4 and I wrote down 3 earlier. Okay, so again, we've got our three forms, standard, factored, and vertex. And we've got our y-intercept, our two x-intercepts, and our vertex. Okay, there's one down. Let's take a look at the next one. I have f of x equals 2 times the quantity x plus 3 times the quantity x minus 7. So if I pause and think for a moment, this is factored factored form. And what do we end up with in factored form? Again, remember, we get the x-intercepts. So to find the two x-intercepts, we're going to set our factors equal to 0. It is not possible for 2 itself to be 0, so I'm going to disregard that. My other two factors are x plus 3 and x minus 7. In the first case, if I subtract 3 from both sides, x is going to be negative 3. In the second case, if I add 7 to both sides, x is going to be 7. So again, my two x-intercepts are going to be at negative 3, 0 and at 7, 0. Okay, so we've got factored form down. Which one do you want to do next? Let's do standard form. So to do standard form, we're going to have to multiply this out. Okay, so I'm just going to write it down again so we can multiply it out. So I'm going to keep the 2 out in front for now. Let's distribute. So we're going to have x squared minus 7x plus 3x minus 21. So again, I have the 2 out in front. We're going to have x squared, negative 7x and a positive 3x make negative 4x and minus 21. And then last but not least, we need to distribute our 2. So we're going to have 2x squared minus 8x minus 42. So this particular form here, let me just put a box around it. This is standard form. And we got to stop and think, okay, what do we get in standard form? Hopefully you remember it's the y-intercept. And my y-intercept is the constant at the end. So it's going to be 0, negative 42. Okay, and then last, we need to figure out the vertex form. Okay, so if we continue down the page here. So I'm going to just go from standard form to vertex form. So to get to vertex form, I'm going to group together the first two terms and then put the minus 42 at the end here. So as I continue to do this, what can I factor out of the first two constant-wise? I'm going to factor to 2, and I'm left with x squared minus 8, or not minus 8x, I'm sorry about that. It should be minus 4x if I factor it at 2. So now I need to complete the square. So I'm going to take my middle coefficient there, negative 4 divided by 2, and then square it. So negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2, and negative 2 squared is a positive 4. To keep it balanced, that's really 2 times 4, which is 8, so I have to subtract 8 out here to keep it balanced. And since I'm running out of space, I'm just going to work over here. So this completely breaks down to vertex form is to 2, and then we have x minus 2 squared, and then that would be minus 50. So again, this is vertex form. And what do we get from vertex form? The vertex! And the vertex of this quadratic is going to be at 2, negative 50. Okay. Questions on that? Okay, let's take a look at the last example that I have then. So on the last one, so I did one where we started in standard. I did one, this past one, where we started in factored. So one would assume that the last one we're going to do is we're going to start in vertex form. So again, this is vertex form. And again, if you stop and think, what do we know from vertex form? We know the vertex. So the vertex of this particular quadratic is going to be at negative 7, negative 4. Okay, so next I would recommend let's go to standard. So to do standard, we're going to have to multiply this out. So this is really x plus 7 times x plus 7 and then minus 4. So if we distribute, we're going to have x squared plus 7x plus another 7x plus 49, and then of course we have the minus 4 at the end. And if I combine my like terms, 7x and 7x make 14x, and 49 minus 4 is going to be 45. So again, that I multiplied it out and combined like terms. This is in standard form. And think about it. What do we know from standard form? We know the y-intercept. The y-intercept is my constant at the end. So my y-intercept is going to be at 0, 45. Okay, so I've got 2 down, and what I have left is the factored form. So to do factored form, in this case, I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me 45 and add to give me 14. So if I pause for a moment and think, what multiplies to give me 45 and adds to give me 14? Hopefully you're thinking 9 and 5. Okay, so again, this is your factored form. And what do we get from factored form? We get the x-intercepts. So to find the x-intercepts, we're going to set each factor equal to 0. So in the first case, if I subtract 9 from each side, x is going to be negative 9. In the second case, if I subtract 5 from both sides, x would be negative 5. So my two x-intercepts are going to be at negative 9, 0, and at negative 5, 0. And voila. Again, we've found in each one, you're going to find the three forms. One is going to be given to you. You need to identify which one that is and find the missing two, as well as the y-intercept, the x-intercepts, and the vertex. If you have any questions, please let me know. Take care.